Yo, it's ya boy, MegaZakari. Video games. They're real, despite what the government may try to tell you. They also take time to make. Exactly how long does it take? Well, in the case of this particular video game, it takes about 10 years and counting. Tonight, I have been given the opportunity to interview the guy who created Yandere Simulator, YandereDev. Why? Well, why not? I woke up one day and said to myself, you know what, I want to do an interview with YandereDev, and guess what? It happened. Straight up living the American dream here, baby. Before we get into the interview itself, here's some context. Number one, this interview was the result of a little over a week of discussion and compromises. From doing it live, to doing it during a charity event, to basically playing internet interview telephone. It all worked out in the end. Number two, all questions were forwarded to YandereDev beforehand, and he was allowed to reject any questions he didn't want to answer. This isn't nail-biting journalism after all. I will say that there are some questions I have asked that he did indeed reject answering. So before you comment, why didn't you ask about this, that, or that one thing that one time, please be aware that I might have, and it might have not been answered. And number three, this interview is in no way commending YandereDev in a personal or even professional manner for myself. It's strictly an interview that's 60% semi-serious questions and 40% shitpost questions, fueled by my unbridled curiosity and autism. So much autism. Now then, let us enjoy an evening at Akademi. What was the inspirations for Yandere Simulator?
In 2013, I started developing game prototypes, but I encountered the same problem with each one of them. All of the games I wanted to make would require a tremendous number of art assets that I couldn't create on my own. So I decided that instead of coming up with a game idea first and trying to make the assets later, I should design a game based around whatever assets were already available to me. So I checked the Unity asset store, and I found a character model that was within my budget. It was an anime schoolgirl. The character came with dozens of animations, and it seemed like it was enough to make a video game with. So I asked a friend of mine, what kind of game would you design if you had to design the game around the main character being a schoolgirl? And he said he would make a game about being a juvenile delinquent. That idea sounded okay, but I felt like it could get more interesting. So I tried to imagine something more extreme than a juvenile delinquent. And that made me think of a criminal, and the most extreme type of criminal is a serial killer. So then I started wondering what type of schoolgirl would be a serial killer. And immediately I thought of the Yandere character archetype. So I started developing a Yandere Simulator. And I think you know the story from there.
Ayano Ashi's character is very much the titled archetype of Yandere. With that said, were there any other inspirations for her character in the game?
Ayano really wasn't inspired by any particular character or characters. Instead of giving her a distinct personality, I tried to make her as much of a blank slate as possible, so that the player could decide what type of person they want her to be, and how she would eliminate her rivals.
Given the drama with Unity last year, and the time spent working on the game with Unity, has there been considerations with shifting engines for Yandere Simulator, or is it far too late into development to even consider that option?
Yeah, that's right. I remember Unity proposing a really stupid change to their terms of service, and then changing their mind after a bunch of backlash from the community. That incident did really hurt my faith in Unity's ability to make sound business decisions. But I've invested way too much time into learning Unity to switch to another engine and start over from scratch. So I think I'll probably continue using Unity for all of my future game projects, although I might occasionally experiment with engines that aren't Unity.
A lot of YouTubers have reviewed or played your game, for better or for worse. Is there a YouTuber that you were surprised or excited to see play your game?
I was hoping that Yandere Simulator would not get noticed by big YouTubers until after I'd had plenty of time to make it presentable and make sure that it will leave a good impression on anyone who sees it. So when big YouTubers started to play Yandere Simulator, instead of being surprised and excited, I was just nervous and worried, because I felt like it was too soon for the game to be exposed to a huge audience. But I know that a lot of game developers would kill to have their work put in front of that many people, so even though it might have been too early, I'm still grateful that big YouTubers played the game.
Has there been any thoughts on, say, a Yandere Simulator? Not like the April Fool's games in the past, but a serious entry in the series?
Nah, to be honest, I don't have any idea what the gameplay of a Yandere Simulator would be like. Maybe a game where you're having an inner struggle with yourself, and you have to balance your Soon side with your Dere side, like a yin and yang thing? I honestly have no clue, man. I don't know.
Out of the big three, which do you prefer? Yandere, Tsundere, or Kudere?
Looking back at all the anime I've ever watched, I tend to find Tsundere characters to just be annoying, and Kudere characters to just be cliché, unless they're really, really well written. But Yandere characters are consistently entertaining to me. So I guess out of those three, I'd have to say my favorite archetype is the Yandere.
Has there been attempts to translate Yandere Simulator to other languages, such as Japanese? If so, besides English, which market has the biggest reception to the game?
I'm still changing aspects of the game's script, so I think it's too soon to attempt to translate it, since the translation would just become outdated and obsolete as the English script continues to change. Maybe one day it'll eventually be translated into other languages, but not right now. In terms of reception, I would say that the game has the largest following in English-speaking countries, but I think there's a surprisingly large following in Russia as well.
Have you ever been to Japan?
No, I've never actually been to Japan, but it is the one place in the world I would most like to visit. I really hope I can go there one day.
Would you say you have gotten better at coding over time, or do you believe you've stagnated in terms of skill set?
I do think I've improved over time. If I go back and look at the earliest code I ever wrote for Yandere Simulator, it's completely different from the most recent code that I've written. I frequently go back and optimize and improve old code and bring it up to a higher standard. There's always something new to learn, so I think I'll only continue to improve in the future. And I don't think I'll start to stagnate for a long time.
Over the years, there's been a lot of people stating that they can make Yandere Simulator faster and better, but with little to no fruition on these statements. Do you think Yandere Simulator is something that cannot be so easily replicated? Or do you think that it could very well be cursed at this point?
No, I don't think that Yandere Simulator is cursed. From what I've observed, most of the people who start developing a games similar to Yandere Simulator are doing so out of spite. They start their project because they hate me, and they think they can do better. But when your primary motivation is spite and your project is fueled by hate, you're doomed to fail. You're going to attract other people who hate me, and the entire development team and fanbase will be composed entirely of hateful and spiteful people. And you'll encounter a bunch of drama, and your project will fall apart before long. Technically, if someone could develop a game similar to Yandere Simulator without hate and spite being their primary motivations, they might actually be able to make a great game. But sadly, I just haven't seen that yet.
Do you know Japanese?
No, sadly, I can't speak Japanese. It is the #1 language that I most wish I could learn. But, I just don't know if I'll ever be able to do that.
There has been heated debate online about the age range on the characters of Yandere Simulator. To put the debates to rest, what are the official ages of the main characters, specifically Ayano?
Oh, this is an easy one. They're all 18. It says so at the welcome screen when you start playing the game. There's also some lore, both in the game and on the official website, that explains why all of the students in the game are 18. In short, the game takes place at a post-high school academy, and nobody in the game is under 18.
Do you wish that Hideo Kojima would play Yandere Simulator one of these days?
Hideo Kojima is one of the game developers who had the most influence on me. It would be an absolute honor if one of my biggest inspirations would play my game. But I don't really know what the chances of that are. I hope he plays Yandere Simulator one day, but I also understand if he's just way too busy with his own projects to do that.
I've read online that Samus Aran is your waifu. Is this still the case after all these years?
Ah, yes, that's correct. Samus is my #1 most favorite female character of all time. Although I will admit that she has some pretty strong competition from 2B of Nier Automata. I like 2B almost enough to change my waifu from Samus to 2B. But for now, Samus still has the #1 spot.
What are your thoughts on the rebuild films of Neon Genesis Evangelion?
Evangelion is my most favorite anime of all time. And I was so excited for the rebuild films that I decided not to watch them until all of them were out, and then watch them all in one massive marathon. But sadly, because I've been so busy with Yandere Simulator, I haven't had the time to check out the rebuild films yet. I really hope that sometime later this year I'll be able to do that. I just don't know when it'll be.
There have been a lot of volunteers for the game over the years. Are you thankful for their assistance in making the game?
Absolutely. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the volunteers, and I'm immensely grateful to them for all of the help they've given me over the years.
What are your thoughts on Yandere Simulator speedruns?
I really enjoy watching people play a video game and try to beat it as fast as possible using advanced technical tricks. I think it's cool. I've even tried it myself a few times. I think it's cool when people try to speedrun Yandere Simulator, and I've watched a few Yandere Sim speedruns. But even though the use of bugs and glitches are sometimes a big part of speedruns, I do have to fix any bugs that I see when people speedrun the game.
You've gotten yourself into near disastrous events in the past and even in the present, and yet still continue to work on the game. Given recent events, is there doubt in your mind on continuing the game? Or are you steadfast on continuing development?
I feel like Yandere Simulator is around 90% complete at this point in time. If I quit the project now, that would be like quitting a race when you're just a few steps away from the finish line. No, I think that would just be lame. So yeah, I'm definitely going to finish it, no matter how difficult the process gets.
The topic of AI is a hot button issue right now. Has there been considerations on using AI to help with the development of Yandere Simulator in some capacity?
A lot of people are opposed to the use of AI to generate assets for video games, and I understand all the reasons why. And I think it would just make a lot of people very angry if I was to use AI to make assets for Yandere Simulator. So I don't have any plans to do that.
What are your thoughts on redo of Healer?
I actually did watch that show. You know, for some reason, I lived my entire life believing that a story like that could never get turned into a complete anime and be broadcast on TV. If I had known that the bar was so low and that something so trashy could get turned into a TV series, I would have just written a story like that myself. Instead, like a fool, I've been putting actual effort into my stories. Fuck me, right?
Have you thought about investing in Yandere Simulator merch? Like, say, an Anyano body pillow?
There actually is an Ayano body pillow. You can find it by going to Google and searching for crowd-made Yandere.
What are your thoughts on fan art? Specifically, fan art sold at anime conventions.
My absolute favorite part of developing Yandere Simulator is seeing what the fans create. Fan art, theory videos, cosplay, etc. I guess there's still a small part of me that feels kind of weird about seeing people draw unofficial Yandere Sim artwork and then make money off of it by selling it at conventions. But I guess I'm just grateful that the game inspires them to draw artwork.
If there was a major video gaming company who offered to assist in the development of Yandere Simulator, who would you hope for?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know if this counts as a major game company, but I'm tempted to say that I'd like Grasshopper Manufacture to develop Yandere Simulator. It's because I think the director of the studio, Suda51, would be a perfect fit for Yandere Simulator.
With the ever-growing popularity of anime in the West, has the constant change of trends influenced the development of Yandere Simulator? For example, the insane reception to Bocchi the Rock.
It's sad to think about it, but I've been so busy working on Yandere Simulator that I've had barely any time to watch anime. So any recent anime that have come out over the past 10 years haven't really influenced the development of the game because I haven't seen them. I'm aware that Bocchi the Rock exists and I know it's popular, but I've never watched it. So even though I'd love to watch it, it just hasn't had the opportunity to influence Yandere Sim.
Despite everything that has happened over the course of development, are you proud of what you have accomplished thus far?
Yeah. Even as recently as today, when I look in the Yandere Simulator Discord, I see people talking about the game, sharing their fan art, sharing their theories, expressing their hopes for the final game, and even just posting silly screenshots that they took for fun. When I see people having fun with what I created and looking forward to its future, yeah, it makes me feel pretty proud of what I've made.